Hi, Neil Sean here. Now, Christmas is a time of year for families, right? It's all about getting together with those loved ones and not so loved ones. And basically, I don't know about you, I think there's a lot of pressure to put on people to, make sure everybody gets on. I always feel sorry for the host of that particular venue because if you do it at home, you've got all the cooking, you've got to make sure people have got somewhere to stay, the sherry's on flow, all that sort of stuff. And then, of course, if there's children or grandchildren, they're screaming and banging around with toys that you want to throttle them with, right? Because you just want a bit of peace at that point in the day. If you're the royal family, it's a totally different thing, as we've seen over the last few days. Sadly, the former royal known as Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, has now disinvited himself to all the festivities regarding the British monarchy. Now, I don't know about you, I feel sorry for him in that respect because whatever he's done, because it's a public-facing firm, a company, then obviously he doesn't want to make things any different for the firm. So the walk to church won't be there and all that sort of stuff. So it does feel like he's been ostracised from his family. One person, of course, who had the, thrill and honour of being the very first person to be invited to Christmas by our late and brilliant monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, was none other than the former cable TV actress Meghan Markle. Now, the story about Meghan and Christmas is a very strange one indeed. Simply because when you think about it, people often say, it must have been very daunting. Now, let's just start this story at the very beginning. I hope you're sitting comfortably. Yes, you are, aren't you? We haven't had a wave. You haven't waved. No. You all right? Thank you so much, genuinely, for joining me. Now, you see, if you think about it, it's a bit like this, right? Meghan claims she knew nothing, again, about the British monarchy, but I would call her out on that, simply because she was friends with Princess Eugenie. And I have this on great authority that Princess Eugenie showed a lot of her own personal family pictures. So think about this, right? This is before, allegedly, she met Harry. So you know that she's a real-life British princess from the British monarchy, the royal family. And you don't think to say, well, who's that person and who's that person? No. Apparently, Meghan knew nothing about the British monarchy. This is disputed because, once again, she was very much aware of the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson. I know that war firsthand. She knew who she was. So if you are friendly with Sarah Ferguson's daughter, then you've got some idea who Prince Andrew is, her father. He featured in a lot of the pictures that she showed Meghan, right? As ever, allegedly. So when she became the part of the family, going, of course, to her very first Christmas in 2017, if you remember, in that sort of beige outfit, apparently a colour that she was forced to wear so she blended in. Well, what everybody really remembers is the curtsying, or the lack of curtsying, as, of course, the monarch went past and the bob. And she was quite good at acting at that point, all wide-eyed and doe-eyed, clutching hold of Prince Harry like he was some magnet because she didn't know what to do. Hiding, of course, behind that very steely, brutal determination to become someone. You don't get to that age in the world of, that industry, the entertainment industry, if you are somebody like Meghan Markle and suddenly play the shrinking Violet. That's not exactly what she was doing, but she was putting on a very good show at that point. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because behind the scenes, of course, there was Meghan, very first, as I say, royal Christmas. Couldn't really believe her luck. For the main meal, she was apparently sat next to the Duke of Edinburgh on Christmas Eve. And according to Harry in his book, she was amazing and the family were just enraptured with her. William and Catherine were devoted fans of Suits, of which I've told you before. They had got no idea what Suits was. Nobody really knew Meghan Markle, right? Now, if they were being kind, they may have looked her up. and thought, well, we'll just sort of flatter her a bit and say, oh, yes, we've marvellous programme. But they were certainly not rushing to watch it on a little-known channel over here in the United Kingdom, or indeed streaming it. It wasn't available at that point like that. So again, discrepancies there. So she's sitting next to the Duke of Edinburgh. Marvellous chap. Met many people in his time, of course, and knew a thing or two about wayward actresses. Now, it was interesting because at that point, and this is where it gets fascinating, apparently she got on so well with him, they became best buddies. Story goes, though, she was sat on the side that he was totally deaf on. So while he's just smiling and nodding away, he probably had no idea what she was saying. Blessings, some people might also point out. Now, what happened was, on the very first time that she was there, it's a very structured Christmas with the royals. They do things, the same thing every year. That's the way the late monarch liked it. Nothing wrong with that. Lots of families do. Meghan was very, very instantly bored. And according to a source that was there at that particular time working as a staff member, she went around filming a lot on her phone and taking lots of snaps for, prosperity. Apparently she couldn't believe what a charming residence this was for the royals. She went on a few walks, but what she kept thinking was at some point she's going to get this one-to-one sit down with none other than the monarch, the Queen, to tell her exactly what would be expected of her when she joined the firm full time. It didn't come. She was miffed. She didn't like the fact that, she was being sidelined, if you like, and told to talk to this person, that she just wanted the Queen. Meghan's ruthless enough to know that it's the boss that makes the decisions. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking to Sophie Wessex or indeed Catherine, the Princess of Wales, as she now is, but then, of course, the Duchess of Cambridge. Well, didn't matter, wasn't interesting enough for Meghan. Of course, the big news that came out was that she called her mum, Doria, right, who was then back in California. Probably couldn't believe her luck that her daughter had muscled away in here. Not quite at the fully fledged form yet, but apparently, according to that source, Meghan said this. She was delighted, suddenly she got this big new family that apparently, she'd always dreamed of. Right, but you've already got a big family and, you've had all of those for years. In fact, your half-brother said that, Christmases were a big thing. Your half-sister said the same thing. So suddenly, this is a bit strange. And this goes back to the story also of Harry suddenly going on BBC Radio 4, the Today Show, to say that Meghan had finally found the family that she'd never had. It's just a joke, right? But how dumb, you have to say, is Prince Harry? He believed it. Right? This is the point. Now, at this point, and this is integral to the story, apparently at this point she wanted to know who was the guy with the Queen. The guy. Well, he's not a servant, he's not a helper, he's not an assistant. That's her son, Prince Andrew, right? According to Meghan, she had no idea who he was. And according to Harry, she'd never Googled the royal family. Yet, as I said, at the start of the video, Princess Eugenie had shown her a lot of pictures. Maybe Meghan didn't take interest in these people. Maybe she didn't care the fact that he was the, Duke of York or whatever. Not interesting to her. But strange to think, isn't it? Who was the guy? So, again, planting seeds. Now, Harry's very gullible at this point because it's this point where, of course, the Queen famously said that Harry was a little bit too much in love. She picked up on it very astutely. Meghan, according to that source, while she was there on the very first Christmas, spent oodles of time on her phone, texting, taking pictures, and looking perpetually bored, but clicking on the Hollywood smile whenever she felt there was somebody around worthwhile. According to that source, she was polite but distant with many people, particularly the helpers that, literally assist the royal family there. Never once as a foodie did she stray into the kitchen to either thank the chefs or the cooking team to say what marvellous food, even though she's a dedicated foodie. Oh yes, wonderful kitchen, the top chefs, everything. Not interested, no. Now, what really happened was, and what happens at these events is this. Behind the scenes, you see, the men tend to go off shooting, fishing, hunting, all the things that apparently Meghan really despises. And that's her prerogative. And what normally happens with the ladies is they either sit around having conversations, board games, or going for walks. It's the moment where the men and the women separate. But Meghan didn't want to be separated. She didn't really want to integrate. She wasn't too keen on making small talk. She found it boring. The internet reception wasn't brilliant and she didn't know what else to do. She wasn't a television fan because she's not on it, and there was no films as such to watch, even though there were plenty of films. Now, lots of children there also, grandchildren visiting, but apparently the maternal instinct at that point hadn't fully kicked in yet, right? So that wrapped up, and that was the end of that. And Meghan, gushed and marvellous and all that sort of stuff. Of course, the following year, then we had the royal wedding. And as we know, that was orchestrated reality. And they'd already had a secret wedding that she lied about with the Archbishop of Canterbury. And the lies just kept coming and coming, right? Now, 2018, totally different story for Christmas. Because this time around, Meghan has a lot of power. Or so she thinks. There she has been in that ill-fitting Givenchy dress at the wedding, which apparently the Queen said white. We all thought that, but there you go. Now, as I say, 2018 was a different sort of plot, really, because Meghan felt now she's the superstar. There she is, billions of people have watched her wedding around the world, and she felt she had a little bit of clout. And this time around, Queenie, as she affectionately called her, would be giving her some time. Definitely. Now, you have to remember at this point that Meghan, right, still claiming she didn't really know anything about the royals and, all of this sort of stuff. Now, here's the thing. Harry says that he talked her through Christmas, the first Christmas. So if he did all of that, why didn't he talk her through the national anthem? What happens at Trooping the Colour? All the various things that happen in the royal family. Why did he just leave it to that point? You see, it doesn't really make sense. But 2018, Meghan now pregnant with Archie, right? Well, apparently she was feeling lonely, little bit desperate and, whatever. So in another unprecedented move, the mother, Doria Ragland, was allegedly allowed if she'd like to come. And an invitation was sent down via the monarch to say to Meghan, well, we understand, we saw that you'd got no family at the wedding and, are there any friends you'd like to invite maybe for the Christmas stay? No friends, no. No, friends are a bit risky, you see, because after a couple of sherries and maybe the strong sherry trifle, they might start to gab, right? Couldn't do with that. Mother might be a safe bet, right? Doria said nothing, sat there a little bit like a ventriloquist dummy at the church, never really spoke to anybody. Minor chat with, of course, the then Prince of Wales, Prince Charles. Moving forward, the Queen thinks, well, we can't have her on her own, and she wanted them there, even though there were rumblings at that point that Meghan and Harry might not want to spend Christmas. As a young couple, they might want to nest, as it were, with the forthcoming arrival of their child. You get the picture. So moving forward again, they said, well, would Doria like to pop along? And this was very, very nicely, sent out to the media. And the media thought, oh, this is very nice, whatever. Now, for some explicable reason, this was led to go on for a long time, so much so that the Queen genuinely thought Doria was going to be coming. At the 11th hour, what happened was suddenly Doria had decided against it. She had pressing things to do. Nobody knows what, because apparently she's a yoga instructor stroke social worker. Couldn't she take the time off? Her daughter's expecting a child. Surely she'd want to be there over the Christmas period. No. The thing is, you see, Doria again, well, too many people might want to sit and chat to her, find out the story, find out the background, all of those things that have been a little bit of a mystery for senior royals who are starting to open up their eyes, shall we say, to certain aspects of Meghan and her life, even though Prince Harry decided against it. So once again, Meghan Markle finds herself expecting with child, spending Christmas with her brand new extended family, but no family of her own, or indeed no firm friends. All of these friends that apparently Meghan spoke about recently on a red carpet when they were having children at the same time. So couldn't she have invited one of them? Maybe just as a bit of fun? Somebody to go for walks with? No. This time around, though, Meghan was bored rigid. She found the whole concept of repetitiveness very, very hard to take. And the idea, if you like, of sitting around and talking again, she just kind of thought, oh, this is not for me. And as we know, they'd already got the seeds of plan about what they wanted to do with Megxit along the way. Again, you know, the mother apparently was on the phone to her a lot and she spoke a lot. But if they could spend all that time speaking, why couldn't the mother come over, you know? But apparently the mother had already decided that she was not going to be coming over there to help with the child and the baby. No, she was too busy. So you can understand that was never a plot that was going to be happening. Now, once Christmas had wrapped up again, and this was where Meghan really showed her true colours, she felt that really she should have had more time with the monarch. According to that source, this was the idea when Meghan was struggling. Well, she said, you know, well, I need some help. This is at this point where this is interesting. And apparently Sophie Wessex, now the Duchess of Edinburgh, was, you know, put forward. And she tried. Now, Sophie's one of these people that's worked in PR, understands the entertainment industry long before she was inside the royal family, so understood how that side of world would work. Meghan battered her away, didn't need her, just wanted Harry. So other people were suggested. Not Catherine, the Princess of Wales, because although they tried to get on, Meghan had kept something of a distance not just with Catherine, but of course with her 3 children too. She tried to become very friendly with Prince William. Always the eye on the major dart, right? You understand, the most powerful in the room. The Queen, William. You understand where this could go. But William really was having none of it, you know. He understood that Meghan could be, shall we say, difficult, and already had spoken out because apparently he didn't like the way that she spoke to the staff. And the staff had already at this point got a lot of their rumblings out. Things were not going well. At this point, obviously, the late and brilliant monarch, Queen Elizabeth, is still now having these health issues. Things are not going great for her. So a lot was kept away from her. To the outside world, of course, Meghan Markle gushed and said, oh, Christmas is delightful with the royals. Seemingly, though, making plans to never repeat this situation ever again. According to that source, Meghan loathed it. She just felt it was boring, repetitive, nothing to do, freezing. What was she supposed to occupy herself with? Well, perhaps, of course, she could have done the TIG, but she felt she'd been forced to close that down. But nobody forced her to change religion to become part of the family. Willingly did that, even though she was a woman of great independence. She gave, apparently, so much up to join the British monarchy. People forget just how powerful she was in the world of entertainment. A farce in itself, right? Really, the only bit that Meghan Markle actually enjoyed, and the whole Christmas stay apparently, was this bit. That's right. The now famous walk to church on Christmas morning. And this is a wonderful, delightful thing that people mock a lot of us for, but it's nice to see the royal family a little bit more informal. They chat to well-wishers, wish all the locals and visitors who come from miles around from the globe to wish the royal family a very Merry Christmas, and they do the same. Meghan liked this, but she didn't like the order of walking. Do you understand? There's a certain hierarchy, as you can imagine. And of course, Meghan thought, well, you know, get next to Catherine or get in all the pictures. That ruthless, trust me. That was the bit, the only bit, according to a friend who she now no longer speaks to, but was texting and phoning on a regular basis, that she enjoyed. Suddenly, there was the thing there that she really liked, cameras. And once the cameras had stopped clicking and she got into church and they'd done the bit coming out, and of course the Queen had then gone off back to the house, apparently she just found the whole escapade incredibly dull. And of course, this was never going to be repeated again because suddenly, if you remember, Prince Harry pointed out that Meghan didn't necessarily like the fishing and hunting and shooting side of things. She didn't like cruelty to animals, right? This is Meghan, of course, apparently, who when they first met was roasting a chicken when Harry proposed. So she got over that, didn't she? You know what I'm saying? But she just didn't like that side of it because roasting a chicken is no less cruel than, of course, if you love animals, going out to fish, shoot and hunt, is it? But then it's not up in the boring wilds of Norfolk in Sandringham. You get the picture, right? So that was really the curtain down on Christmas for Meghan. She couldn't stomach any more of that. And the idea really was that they were going to go somewhere exotic, do a little bit like what Catherine and William do, the couple of days disappear. But Meghan didn't even want to do the couple of days. She'd had it, she'd done it, she felt she'd experienced it. This is what a lot of performers do. Once they've done the gig, they think, well, nothing more to be gained here. Why do I need to do that? And ideally, of course, the only way that Meghan would have stayed alongside Harry at Christmas time would be if she got next to the main power player, and that was Queen Elizabeth, and that was never going to happen. So Christmas cheer was very short for Meghan, but she made sure that she never had to endure it again. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.